I'm Bev Dahlby, and this is the School of Public Policy. Today, we release two papers that contain our research on something that's called the Laffer curve. That is the relationship between tax rates and the revenues that those taxes generate. And we showed that in some cases, in some provinces, corporate tax rates are too high. That is, if they lowered corporate tax rates in those provinces, in fact, tax revenues would increase. The Laffer curve gets its name from a situation that occurred during the Ford administration in Congress. Edward Laffer, an economist, was dining with some congressmen, and he showed that, and he drew on a napkin, a curve which represented the effect that corporate tax rates have on revenues. And he showed that if the corporate tax rate is too high, lowering the corporate tax rate would in fact generate more revenues. This curve, which is an upside down U, has become known as the Laffer curve. So we applied our analysis to the Canadian provinces, and we showed that 5 of the provinces are on what we say is the wrong side of the Laffer curve. That is, if they lowered their corporate tax rates, they would in fact generate more tax revenues. Not just corporate tax revenues, but personal income tax revenues, sales tax revenues, because income generating activity in the provinces would improve with lower corporate tax rates. The provinces that were on the wrong side of the Laffer curve were Saskatchewan and the 4 Atlantic provinces, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland and Labrador. One can speculate why corporate tax rates are too high in those provinces in terms of perhaps there's a disincentive to lower corporate tax rates because of the equalization system. With the equalization system, provinces lose equalization entitlements if their tax bases are higher. Lowering the corporate tax rates would increase their tax bases, increase their revenues, but they would lose equalization entitlements, which might create a disincentive for them to lower their rates and improve the economic conditions within those provinces. Alberta is not on the wrong side of the Laffer curve because we have a very strong basic corporate economy here, especially in 2013 when we had high oil prices. The province could generate more tax revenue through a higher corporate tax rate, but that's not what we should do, because higher corporate tax rates come at a very high cost in terms of the loss of income generating opportunities. It would reduce entrepreneurial activity, investment, wage enhancements for workers. So we recommend that the corporate tax rate be reduced, roll back the 12% corporate tax rate that the Notley government have implemented, and replace any lost revenues with higher, by introducing a provincial sales tax in Alberta. The provincial sales taxes are the least costly form of tax revenues, and if we could replace the high-cost corporate tax revenues with lower-cost sales tax revenues and deal with our structural deficit at the same time, the provincial economy would be in a much better shape than it currently is. Let's make one thing perfectly clear. Corporations don't pay taxes. People pay taxes. People pay the corporate income tax through lower wages, lower employment opportunities, higher prices for the goods and services that corporations consume, and also perhaps through lower returns to shareholders. But those shareholders are pension funds, the shareholders are people in their RRSPs. It's not just wealthy people who hold shares in corporations. The notion that corporations somehow pay taxes misses the key point that the tax burden is borne on corporations is borne by people, and that includes workers, working families around Alberta. Yeah, so the bottom line is we recommend lower corporate tax rates across the board in the provinces. That will stimulate economic growth, generate more economic activity. If there is a reduction in revenues, it should be made up for by higher general sales taxes, such as the GST and HST in those provinces. And this will stimulate the economy, providing more employment and job creation that will benefit the population as a whole. I'm Bev Dahlby. This is the School of Public Policy. Thanks for watching.